back to Rec Masters Talks. The topic today is, how do you beat loneliness and isolation? We're continuing a series on this subject. The question is, how do I get started? And actually, as we begin to put together a band of brothers or sisters, a small group, whatever you want to call it, how do we actually get started? How do we know who to be in the little band with? How do we do that? Well, let me give you a couple thoughts, and this is very down-to-earth, practical stuff that I think is very important. First of all, you got to think through and pray for a few good friends that you sense God is asking you to put together, and maybe somebody else is thinking about the same thing, and they may ask you if you'd be interested in being with that little band of brothers or sisters. But pray for a few good friends that really want to grow, develop in the context of that small little group of 3 or 4. Number 2, take the initiative, and once you have the group together, then maybe just meet for like 8 weeks and make a determination what you're going to do during those 8 weeks. And I'm going to give you an idea for a schedule for that in a moment. But at the end of 8 weeks, evaluate and see if everybody's in. And so I know one group that met for like 20 some years, but every 8 weeks they stopped for a few minutes. Everybody on board? We're doing okay? Etc. So you need to evaluate briefly to see if you're going to keep on, or some people may want to opt out. So you just kind of have to go through that process. Now, I want to give you a schedule. See, you got to have a schedule. To me, instead of just hanging out together, there's nothing wrong with that kind of meeting. And not just hanging out and having coffee or having lunch. I do all that. But this is different. This is to accomplish a purpose, to go deeper in your life and faith with the Lord together with a few others. So I'm going to suggest a schedule that I've used over the years for a band of brothers or sisters as you meet on a consistent basis, hopefully weekly. Number 1, when you get together, share the scripture. And by that I mean maybe you've assigned a passage to read the week before and say, coming back and tell what you learned as you went through it and read it and thought about it, etc. Or you might be going through a book of the Bible and you are designating for the next week the next 10 verses in a passage or in a chapter. But come together, share what you're learning with each other through the book and what you're trying to live out. Number 2, share not only the scripture, but number 2, share your schedule. In other words, what will you be doing in the next week or 2 weeks? And hopefully you will be reflecting back on his major priorities and trying to live those priorities out. You say, what priorities? Well, we got a book right here that talks about the 4 priorities that Jesus lays out in Matthew 22, 37 to 39. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. The second commandment's like the first, that you love your neighbors, you love yourself. 4 commitments: your commitment to Christ, your commitment to loving yourself and taking care of yourself. Number 3, your commitment to other relationships with believers in your family, your marriage, your children, your grandchildren, etc., and other friends that follow Christ. And 4, what kind of difference are you going to make in the world in which you live with people that don't know Christ? So look through that filter of the 4, or if you come up with another system, then go at it. Share your schedules. By the way, as you're going through sharing the scripture, the schedules, and the other things I'm going to mention here, everybody should be taking notes on each other. And I'll tell you why in a moment. Number 3, share your relationships. With whom will you be spending time in the next week or 2 weeks? Hopefully, if you're a man, you're going to have a date night. You got time lined up, if your kids still are home, to do something special with them. Maybe you're trying to work on making a difference in the life of somebody at work, and you need to line up a coffee or whatever to go a little further in that relationship. Share your relationships. Number 4, share where you are right now. How you doing in your life right now? Where you sucking wind? Where you hurting? Where you excited? So be authentic and share where you are right now. And then finally in prayer, you should be really taking notes all through the meeting. Now you don't have to go around and say, well, what do you want to pray about? Everybody's already shared the scripture and what they're trying to live, their schedules, their relationships, where they are right now. You got plenty to pray about. And then make a note of that and spend some time in praying through the different elements of your meeting together for each other. Pray for each other. And that will build you together in a way that I think will absolutely, over a period of time, have a great impact on the life of all the people in that little band. Let me close with this. Acts chapter 2, 42 to the end of the chapter through 47. All the believers, the Christians, devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to sharing in meals, including the Lord's Supper, and in prayer. A deep sense of awe came over them all, and the apostles performed many miracles and saw many miraculous signs and wonders. And all the believers met together in one place, shared everything they had. They sold their property, possessions, shared the money with those in need. They also worshiped together at the temple or church each day, and met at homes for the Lord's Supper, and shared their meals with great joy and generosity, all the while praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all the people, even the people in the community that didn't know Jesus. And each day, the Lord added to their fellowship those who were being saved. So the end result of the dynamic of this fellowship in Acts 2, 42 to 47 was they banded together, they worshiped, they had instruction, they had fellowship, and they had outreach or expression. And as a result of that dynamic in those little groups, people were coming to Christ, but the people in the little bands, 4s and the 5s or whatever, they were growing like crazy. But also through them, the Lord was working to impact the hearts and lives of others. Whew. Well, there you go. I hope you'll live this stuff out. It's good.